The James Bond franchise hasn't been in the best shape since the release of No Time to Die back in 2021. Between the purchase of Amazon, the creative control being wrestled away from the original MGM owners, and everything that entails, there has been an ongoing debate about who is going to play James Bond in the upcoming film. Aaron Taylor Johnson was at one point seemingly to be considered the one. Now we're not even sure if that's true, but there is one bit of really, really good news going forward for the upcoming Amazon James Bond film, and that is they have gotten visionary director Denis Villeneuve. As you guys know, Sicario is one of my favorite films of all time. He also did Blade Runner 2049, Dune Part 1 and 2. He has been brought on to direct this film, and he is a lifelong James Bond fan, and I don't think you could ask for a better director to head up this operation.
Well, I only know that I disliked Dune Part 2, and that's not really because he did anything wrong with it. I just have poor taste.
No.
I must be lacking media literacy.
So let's go through a little bit. I've got thoughts on this. Most of it is like my wish fulfillment on how they would go about making this film, which I'm sure they won't be able to do. It depends on how much they're going to spend on this movie. Also, they're saying that it's not going to be coming out until at least 2028, given the size and scope of the project. I do wonder what that means for Dune 3.
Are they signing on Denis Villeneuve for several
Looks
at
like just
once,
one.
or just the first of the next 3 or 4?
Just the first, I'm guessing. So far, doing more than that wouldn't be likely for someone like that. There was a time where you might get the same director back.
Yeah.
But for instance, one of my other suggestions was they bring back Martin Campbell, who launched both the Daniel Craig and the Pierce Brosnan eras of James Bond. He directed both GoldenEye, and then he didn't direct another one until Casino Royale, and there was an 11-year gap between those films.
I just think, and it's funny because Christopher Nolan was one of the directors that they wanted for this project. They should do it the way that the Dark Knight trilogy was done, for the sake of continuity and a unified vision. And this is defining an entire era of the character and the franchise.
That wasn't even planned as a trilogy, though. They brought him on for one movie, and then it just kind of became a trilogy. I was like literally watching like these retrospectives of the Nolan era. Like they weren't even necessarily sure that it was going to get a sequel after Batman Begins, because Batman Begins didn't do nearly as well at the box office as they wanted it to. But the thing is, before we get into it, that was actually one of my ideas here. So I wanted Denis Villeneuve to be involved. The other thing is I want Roger Deakins involved as the cinematographer. He did Skyfall for them, but he's also worked with Denis Villeneuve multiple times. He did Sicario, and he also did Blade Runner 2049. He's the guy who did 1917. He's a very, very, very well-known cinematographer in Hollywood. He hasn't worked since 2022. Maybe I'm not plugged in. I don't know if maybe something's...
I really liked 1917.
So he's that. And then what I was thinking about, everybody talked about Christopher Nolan, but it's Jonathan Nolan who had his name in the ring to direct this film. I think they should bring him on as the writer for this movie, because he wrote the screenplay for both The Dark Knight and The Prestige, and he was the creator and did a lot of the writing for Person of Interest, which has a lot of spy elements, especially in the first 3 seasons. And there's a lot of influence in those characters and the way that he writes. I would like to see all of them involved. I don't think they could afford even Amazon, I don't think, could afford to get all 3 of them involved.
Oh, no, they can afford it. It's just, are they willing?
Yeah. So this is what it says. This was Amazon's... oh, by the way, they mentioned it earlier. It says Amazon MGM Studios has revealed that he's brought on with producer Tanya LaPointe. That's his wife. His wife is Tanya LaPointe, who's been brought on to produce this movie. Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a diehard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory, he said. Remember, I said this like a year or 2 ago. I said, characters like James Bond or characters like Batman, directors should essentially be anointed. And my point was that it shouldn't be Marvel. You shouldn't be bringing in TV directors and filmmakers to make your properties. You should find visionary directors who have a large, very, very proven track record in the industry to bring on to shepherd these projects forward. I do like your idea of bringing him on for more than one film, but I think the thing is, for a guy like him, he's in such demand that he's going to want to do other things as well.
We also have a 20 from Tim Hart 961. Mary, beautiful as always. Thank you. Hi, Brett. The new James Bond movie will be titled Why the Ceiling Bird Sings.
I don't. It's so funny. I wonder, like, they're kind of running out of names with "die" in the name, right? Die, time to die.
Oh, I mean, they'll come up with
Yeah.
something.
So, one thing that he mentions that he's a lifelong Bond fan, but his two favorite movies are recent films, which are Skyfall, which is, like I said, he's worked with cinematographer Roger Deakins before. And he also likes Casino Royale, which are modern, the more modern interpretations of the franchise. He didn't list like the Connery era or the Dalton era. He kept it with original, newer versions of the film. And the thing is Skyfall has fantastic cinematography, and he doesn't get into Spectre, which is in my mind like the most boring of the modern era of James Bond films. It was the one with Batista in it, and it just feels like it takes forever to get to the end of the movie, and it's
I don't
super
care
boring.
for Dave Bautista. He seems to have a lack of charisma.
It's kind of his bag.
Having no charisma?
he's definitely not as good as John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah, like John Cena is
true.
definitely better. Look, I want to see them bring a more refined classic interpretation of the character back, meaning that when they brought on Martin Campbell to do 007 in 2006, they went with a more grounded, realistic approach to the character. I hate that. I don't want a grounded, realistic approach to the character. I want gadgets. I want him like fixing his tie as stuff blows up in the background. I want him to be able to hire somebody who can embody the kind of suave but angry tone that Brosnan was able to master, especially in the later versions of that film. And one of the complaints about Blade Runner 2049 was that it had too much fan service, and that it was more focused on on style rather than substance.
I can't tell you a single thing that happened in Blade Runner 2049.
But the point is James Bond can work with that formula because it is formulaic. It isn't necessarily in need of a ton of substance. James Bond thrives on formula, hitting all of the notes that the character has to hit so that you recognize that it's James Bond. He has to go see M. He has to see Money. He has to flirt with Moneypenny. He has to fix his tie, martini, shaken, not stirred. Like, all of these things don't really require a whole lot of depth. And I definitely don't want to see some stupid origin story that explains why he likes martinis, which would be very, very stupid. But then we have to get into the whole debate. Oh, and like I said before, they are looking for 2028, so we've got 3 years before we see this, and they do want to cast an actor under 30.
Under 30?
Under 30.
I thought under 35.
So if they want,
oh my gosh,
if they wanted,
this is ridiculous.
If they want this guy on for 10 to 15 years, they want somebody who's not going to look old by the end. Now, me and you both know that that's not what's actually going to happen. They're going to look fine by the end of it, but I don't know. Like, a lot of names are getting dropped.
This is ridiculous because there are no actors under 30 today that fit the bill. There just aren't.
This was also really funny. He said that they really, really wanted to hire Christopher Nolan, but he's never going to sign on to a movie unless he gets final cut on the film. And Amazon's going to be like, oh no, there's not enough product placement. The BMW logo needs to be more visible. The Aston Martin logo needs to be more visible. We need product placement and stuff like that. You know how that they think at these tech companies turned movie studios. Though, to be fair, I loved F1. That was apparently an Apple movie. I felt dirty just watching it. I was watching the movie and I'm like, oh my God, I like an Apple movie.
Were they doing product placement?
No.
For Apple?
I mean, no, there's so much product placement in that movie because all of the other race teams are real race teams like Red Bull and Porsche and
How do
Ferrari.
you do product placement in a James Bond movie?
Like I said, the cars are the number one. Like, every movie, because like one of the big things was it was the Aston Martin, but then when Pierce Brosnan signed on, they switched to BMW, so you'd see the BMW front and center in the films. I definitely don't want to see like Microsoft monitor logos on the back of computers. They should be using the hologram screens. But who would you hire then if you were to? They list a lot of names here.
Well,
of course,
they listed the under 30s first.
Yeah,
Jacob Elordi.
We got that one in the.
Jacob Elordi isn't. Are they saying that he has to be British?
Yeah. No, just European.
Jacob Elordi is American. Tom Holland.
He could do it. I don't want him to. He doesn't have the hair for it.
Okay, can is not the same thing as should, because he's a twink. Harris Dickinson is also on a lot of these lists.
So is Taron Egerton.
Who?
Taron Egerton.
I don't know if I've even
He's
seen
from
him before.
He's from Kingsman. He was in that movie Carry On. I reviewed Carry On. Carry On was a lot of fun last year. Richard Madden's on this list. He should be disqualified because of Citadel. That was Citadel.
I'd only
right?
heard of Harris Dickinson because he was the love interest to Nicole Kidman in that A24 movie, Baby Girl.
So one of the reasons I think Richard Madden is a possibility, even though I think he's too old by the under 30 statistic, is that he did Citadel, which was Amazon, and a lot of times they like working with people they know are easy to work with and can carry a role.
They're working with Henry Cavill.
And
I've been saying, I don't really care how old he is. Just give the fans what they want.
Robert Pattinson, another person who worked with Nolan for Tenet, which puts him in kind of the same category.
That could be okay. It's just jarring because in real life, Robert Pattinson is such a goofball.
I know.
It's hard to picture him playing a serious character like that. And they're still trying to make Idris Elba happen.
Aaron Pierre, it says, easily the most recent prominent rumor was being considered for Bond. He was in Rebel Ridge on Netflix. He's got the charisma and is actually English. He's also going to be Green Lantern for the DCU's Lanterns TV show. I still think Regé Jean Page is on the outset in the running for something like this, even though I don't think he should play the character. But they listed a lot of names in all of these different. Aaron Taylor Johnson is still up there. I still think that he's also probably too old now.
Well, if he's too old, maybe they should just put him in and then make
Gibson
his wife
is
the
Patrick
Bond
Gibson
girl.
a redhead? Because if so, I don't know if people will accept it.
That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, are we ready as a culture
for a redheaded
ginger James Bond?
Well,
but I think that would be a huge
But the
shift.
thing is
I actually now I'm like pro ginger Bond.
so that was actually a big talking point when Daniel Craig got brought in, because they're like, whoa, a blonde James Bond. He's dirty blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't even.
He didn't have dark hair.
That doesn't even.
That
count.
was a very big talking point when he got hired. Henry Cavill, I know people want him. It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen because they're stupid. It would make money if they just cast him and let it go.
James Norton, Harris Dickinson. This guy should not be playing. He should be playing Q. If he's
Why
gonna
are you against Harris Dickinson as Bond?
He doesn't have the face for it. He's got nerdy computer guy energy, not spy energy. Callum Turner looks like a bad guy. Doesn't look like he'd play a good guy. Josh O'Connor, no.
This Aaron Pierre guy looks girly.
Yeah. I still think that they're gonna.
Do you see? Pull up that picture of Aaron Pierre.
I had it.
He's in the Forbes article. He looks girly. Look at his face.
I mean, he kind of looks like what's his name? Omari, the dude from Power.
And you know, if they race swap, people are gonna check out. It's just true.
Oh yeah.
Just don't do the stupid thing that you know not to do.
And they did that. What they did is in the most recent James Bond video game, they did not race swap James Bond, but a lot of the other characters have been race swapped. I believe M and Moneypenny, some others. But the point is people smell it coming a mile away now. They check out. And the thing is, they did race swap Moneypenny in the most recent James Bond franchise because they had, what was it, Naomi Harris playing Moneypenny in those films. And I never got the feeling that they had like great chemistry together as actors. It felt very, when they did the scene where she like gives him a shave with a straight razor, I'm like, they both look like they'd rather be anywhere but where they are right now.
A lot of people were saying that Margaret Qualley should be the next Bond girl because she did a tribute performance.
I mean, I don't even know if there will be such thing as a Bond girl. That's something that should be there, but society these days, maybe
they have to pick somebody.
No, but the thing is maybe the vibe shift is but the thing is, you don't consider, like, people don't think of Ana de Armas as a Bond girl the way they thought of Isabella Skrupko from GoldenEye as a Bond girl. Like, meaning that in today's day and age, they don't treat them the same way that they did back then, because there was the whole idea that you can't have Bond girls because it's sexist and demeaning to women.
What look and vibe does she need to have?
It's not about the look or the vibe, it's about how the writing goes. So they have to be written like a Bond girl. They can't be just another spy like James Bond.
It's going to be Daisy Edgar Jones.
Oh, please no. I don't know who it will be, but just
it's going to be Dakota Johnson.
At the very least, they've got a good director. I think they should take my advice and hire Roger Deakins to do the cinematography and hire Jonathan Nolan to write it. And I think that would be fantastic. But it will be interesting because this will be the first one where a member of the Broccoli family isn't involved in any way. And that's going to be very, very indicative of what it's going to look like going forward. Because if it fails, they can't really justify continuing, right? Like if they dump $400 million into a James Bond movie and it bombs at the box office, it's dead in the water. It's over before it starts, and then they have to recast.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.